There is a country in northeastern Europe with a population smaller than the city of Houston, Texas. It shares a land border with Russia. It was occupied by the Soviet Union for nearly half a century, from 1940 until 1991, when it became one of the first republics to break free from Moscow's grip. It has spent the 35 years since that independence building something that has become the envy of digital governance experts around the world. A fully functioning digital state where citizens vote online, file taxes in minutes, sign legally binding contracts with a chip in their national ID card, and access virtually every government service through a single secure digital identity. That country is Estonia. And in July 2026, it became something new. The newest and arguably most strategically important battleground for quantum defense technology in NATO's eastern flank. On July 6, 2026, the same day that IQM Quantum Computers rang the NASDAQ bell as Europe's first publicly traded quantum company, a German drone and autonomous systems company called Quantum Systems announced it had opened an office in Tallinn, Estonia's capital, following the acquisition of Census Q, an Estonian intelligence software company specializing in advanced data analysis for defense and security applications. The announcement came with a number that stops you in your tracks. $1.2 billion in Series D financing, co-led by Blackstone, Notice, Airbus, and Advent, valuing quantum systems at $8 billion. And simultaneously, Estonia's government had already been executing a separate quantum strategy, quietly, systematically, and with the urgency of a country that knows exactly where it sits on the map. Cybernetica, the company that built the cryptographic backbone of Estonia's digital state over 25 years, had been awarded 3 government procurements to develop Estonia's national roadmap for post-quantum cryptography and begin the quantum proofing of the country's most sensitive digital infrastructure. Estonia had signed onto the EuroQCI initiative, the European Quantum Communication Infrastructure Program that will link quantum-secure communication nodes across every EU member state. And the country's government had unveiled a €100 million public fund specifically to support the defense technology sector, with quantum computing and cybersecurity among the named priorities. Estonia is not a bystander in the quantum technology race. It has decided, with characteristic urgency and characteristic precision, to be a participant. And the reasons why are as important as the specific moves being made. Like and subscribe right now, because the story of why Estonia became a quantum defense battleground is inseparable from the story of what NATO's eastern flank actually needs, and why no other country in the alliance is positioned to deliver it in quite the same way. To understand why Estonia specifically has become a focal point for quantum defense technology investment and deployment, you have to understand what makes Estonia uniquely vulnerable and uniquely capable in the specific technological domains where quantum computing matters most for national security. Start with the vulnerability. Estonia's entire national identity, its economy, its governance, its democratic institutions, is built on digital infrastructure in a way that is unlike any other country on Earth. When Estonia rebuilt itself after the Soviet occupation ended in 1991, it made a deliberate choice to go digital first. Instead of replicating the paper-based bureaucracies that other countries had inherited from their pre-digital histories, Estonia built its government from scratch on digital foundations. The X-Road data exchange platform, developed in the early 2000s, created a secure, decentralized system through which all Estonian government databases communicate with each other and with the private sector, allowing a doctor to verify your insurance, a bank to confirm your identity, and a government agency to access your tax records through a single standardized, logged, auditable data exchange protocol. The EID system, the national identity card with its embedded chip and cryptographic certificates, is how Estonians authenticate themselves across this entire digital ecosystem. Mobile ID and Smart ID extended this authentication to smartphones. The internet voting system, operational since 2005, allows Estonian citizens anywhere in the world to cast legally binding votes in national elections through their digital identity. These systems are Estonia's most prized achievements and its most significant vulnerabilities. Simultaneously, every single one of them depends on public key cryptography that quantum computers could break. The X-Road platform authenticates its data exchanges with RSA and elliptic curve signatures. The EID card's cryptographic certificates are based on elliptic curve cryptography. The internet voting system uses cryptographic protocols whose security rests on the same mathematical foundations that Shor's algorithm dissolves. Estonia's CTO, Arni Ansper of Cybernetica, put it with unusual directness. As a deeply digitized society, Estonia must lead in adopting quantum-safe technologies. That is not a diplomat's words. It is the assessment of a technical leader who has spent 25 years building the infrastructure that would collapse if a cryptographically relevant quantum computer were deployed against it. Like and subscribe. because the unique capability dimension of Estonia's quantum story is where the country's remarkable trajectory from Soviet occupation to digital pioneer to quantum defense hub becomes genuinely extraordinary. Estonia's capability for contributing to quantum defense technology is not an accident of geography or politics. It is the accumulated product of 35 years of deliberate, sustained investment in the specific human and institutional infrastructure that advanced technology development requires. The Skype origin story is not just a piece of technology history, it is an indicator of what Estonia's engineering culture is capable of producing. Skype was built in Tallinn in 2003 by a team of Estonian software engineers, Ahti Heinla, Priit Kasasalu, John Tallinn, working alongside Swedish entrepreneurs. The product that transformed global voice communication was built on Estonian engineering talent. When Microsoft acquired Skype in 2011 for $8.5 billion, many of those engineers did not leave. They stayed in Estonia, founded new companies, became investors, and seeded a startup ecosystem that has since produced more unicorn companies per capita than any other country in the world. TransferWise, now called Wise, the global money transfer platform, Pipedrive, the CRM software used by teams worldwide, Bolt, the ride-hailing and delivery platform, operating across Europe and Africa, Verif, the digital identity verification company, Nortal, the government digital transformation consulting firm that operates in a dozen countries. This density of successful technology companies in a country of 1.4 million people is not a coincidence. It is the product of a specific combination: exceptional engineering education at Tallinn, a University of Technology, and the University of Tartu, a culture of technical ambition formed in the necessity of rebuilding from Soviet occupation, and the institutional support of a government that has consistently treated technology capability as a strategic national priority rather than an afterthought. The defense technology sector in Estonia has undergone its own version of this same acceleration since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The number of Estonian defense startups went from approximately 10 in 2022 to approximately 100 by early 2025. Ragnar Sass, who co-founded Pipedrive, launched Darkstar, a consortium of tech entrepreneurs and ex-military officers accelerating defense solutions. Sten Tamkivi, an early executive at Skype, is backing defense projects through his investment platform Plural, alongside Wise co-founder Taavet Hinrikus, through a fund of approximately 800 million euros. The expertise flowing into Estonian defense technology is not only technical. The country's government officials have direct, first-hand experience of what it means to have your neighbor invade you. Estonia was occupied in 1940 and again in 1944. The current generation of Estonian defense policymakers and technology entrepreneurs operates with a clarity of strategic purpose about the urgency of defense technology that their counterparts in most Western European countries do not feel in the same visceral way. That clarity is exactly what quantum defense technology deployment requires, because the most important quantum defense applications are not speculative future capabilities. They are operational requirements that NATO's eastern flank needs now. Like and subscribe right now, because what Quantum Systems specifically brought to Estonia reveals why the Tallinn office is not just a business expansion, but a strategic alignment of technologies that NATO needs in exactly the location where they matter most. Quantum Systems, the German defense technology company, not to be confused with quantum computing, is the most interesting defense technology company that most people outside the professional defense community have never heard of. Its name is coincidentally resonant with the quantum computing conversation, but its core products are unmanned systems, drones, autonomous platforms, and the intelligent software that makes them operationally useful. The Vector Fixed-Wing Drone and the Twister VTOL drone platform have been deployed in active conflict zones, including Ukraine, where they have demonstrated performance in contested electromagnetic environments of exactly the kind that electronic warfare from Russian forces creates. The company's Receptor AI upgrade, deployed in 2025, enables signal-independent navigation, meaning the drone can continue to operate in GPS-denied and communications-jammed environments by using AI-based navigation that does not depend on external signals. This capability is not a future development. It is an operational reality in the most intense electronic warfare environment that modern defense technology has been tested in. Quantum Systems opened an office in Lithuania in November 2025, the first step in a deliberate eastward expansion along NATO's eastern flank. The Tallinn office in July 2026, combined with the acquisition of CensusQ, represents the second step in that progression, and it brings a specific capability that the Tallinn expansion was designed to acquire. CensusQ, founded in 2020, specialized in advanced data analysis solutions for defense and security applications. software that processes, structures, and analyzes large volumes of operational data from multiple sensor sources. In the language of defense technology, this is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance analytics, the software layer that turns raw sensor data from drones, satellites, ground sensors, and signals intelligence systems into actionable operational pictures. This capability, combined with Quantum Systems' autonomous drone hardware and its AI-based navigation systems, creates an integrated intelligence collection and analysis stack that is exactly what NATO's eastern flank needs for persistent surveillance of the Russian border. Estonia has approximately 300 kilometers of land border with Russia and approximately 50 kilometers of border with Russia across the Narva River. The ability to maintain continuous, reliable, electronic, warfare-resistant surveillance of that border through autonomous systems that do not require continuous communication links, that can navigate without GPS, and whose sensor data can be automatically processed and analyzed by software, is not an abstract military capability. It is an operational requirement for a country that has spent 35 years knowing that Russia is its most significant security threat. The $1.2 billion Series D round that Quantum Systems closed on July 2, 2026, the same day as the IQM NASDAQ listing and the same week as the Tallinn office announcement, values the company at $8 billion and is explicitly described as supporting industrial scale-up, international expansion, and continued investment in software, AI, and autonomous systems. Blackstone, Notice, Airbus, and Advent are not defense hobbyists. They are among the most sophisticated investors in European industrial and defense technology. Their co-lead of this round is an institutional declaration that they believe Quantum Systems is building the kind of defense technology company that will define NATO's military capability for the next decade. And they are building it, in significant part, from Estonia. Like and subscribe, because the quantum communication infrastructure story running parallel to the Quantum Systems expansion is equally important and considerably less covered. Estonia's participation in the EuroQCI, the European Quantum Communication Infrastructure Initiative, connects the Tallinn defense technology expansion to a broader strategic project that the European Union has been developing since 2019, and that has profound implications for how NATO allies will communicate securely in a post-quantum world. The EuroQCI is a pan-European program to build a quantum-secured communication network connecting critical public communication assets across all EU member states, leveraging both ground-based fiber optic quantum key distribution links and space-based quantum communication satellites. When Estonia joined the EuroQCI, its then Minister of Foreign Trade and Information Technology, Raul Siem said something that cuts to the heart of why quantum communication matters for a country in Estonia's position. Given the rapid development of technology and quantum computing, our digital systems and current encrypting solutions may become vulnerable in the coming years. Joining the EuroQCI community is the first step in making sure that our systems and society are protected against cyber threats in the future. Estonia's digital state, the X-Road, the EID, the Internet Voting System, operates through communications channels that are protected by exactly the encryption that quantum computers could break. If a quantum computer breaks RSA or elliptic curve cryptography, every communication in that infrastructure could potentially be read by an adversary. For a country that sits on the Russian border, with decades of documented Russian intelligence operations targeting Baltic state communications, this is not a theoretical concern. It is an operational intelligence threat that Estonian security services think about every day. Quantum key distribution, the technology at the heart of EuroQCI, uses the quantum mechanical properties of individual photons to distribute cryptographic keys in a way that makes eavesdropping physically detectable. An adversary who intercepts the key distribution process necessarily disturbs the quantum state of the photons being transmitted, creating a detectable signature that alerts the communicating parties. QKD does not depend on the mathematical hardness of factoring large numbers. It depends on the laws of physics, specifically the no-cloning theorem, which prohibits making an exact copy of an unknown quantum state. A quantum communication network secured by QKD remains secure against an adversary with a quantum computer, because the security comes from physics rather than from mathematics that quantum algorithms could compute through. For Estonia, participation, European quantum policy, it is the construction of the communication infrastructure that will keep the Estonian digital state functioning securely in a world where quantum computers exist. The urgency of this construction is made concrete by Cybernetica's national PQC roadmap work, which identified that Estonia's current digital systems, including the Internet Voting System, will require new technology and even new research to transition fully to quantum resistance. The Internet Voting System, the most democratic deployment of cryptographic technology in the world, cannot simply swap one algorithm for another. The cryptographic protocols underlying it are deeply integrated into its architecture in ways that require fundamental redesign rather than incremental update. Cybernetica's CTO, Dan Bogdanov, was honest about the timeline. Presently, the systems are secured, and there is enough time to begin transition to PQC, since no quantum computers exist yet. However, it is impossible to know precisely when one is going to be manufactured. That combination, currently secure but with an unknowable deadline, is the operational reality that Estonia is racing to address while the window is still open, and the work Cybernetica is doing to develop the national PQC roadmap, conducting a full cryptographic inventory of Estonia's digital government infrastructure, creating detailed transition plans with clear timelines and priorities, and beginning implementation across the country's digital services, is the most comprehensive and most publicly accountable PQC transition program that any small country has initiated. Like and subscribe right now, because the geopolitical context that makes all of Estonia's quantum move so urgent is the same context that makes NATO's eastern flank the most consequential frontier in European security. Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 did not simply reshape European defense policy. It changed the live D experience of everyone on NATO's eastern flank in ways that are difficult to convey to those who have not watched from Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, or Finland. In Estonia, there are people alive today who were born under Soviet occupation and who spent their adult lives building a free, democratic digital society, knowing that the country that occupied them for half a century still existed next door and still maintained territorial ambitions that a different Russian government might act on. The invasion of Ukraine validated what Baltic security experts had been warning about for years, while being dismissed in Western European capitals as paranoid. The result has been a massive and sustained acceleration of defense investment across the Baltic states, with Estonia at the leading edge. Estonia is one of only a handful of NATO members that consistently meets and exceeds the 2% of GDP defense spending requirement. For context, in 2025, Estonia spent approximately 3% of its GDP on defense, a proportion that, relative to GDP, exceeds the defense spending of France, Germany, and Italy. The €100 million public fund for defense technology that Estonia unveiled is not the action of a government that treats defense as an unwelcome budget obligation. It is the action of a government that treats defense technology as an existential strategic investment. Darkstar, the defense technology consortium co-founded by Ragnar Sass, has invested in companies including Farsight, a drone data analytics firm whose tools are already being used by Ukrainian forces in active combat. The knowledge transfer between what works in the Ukraine conflict and what Estonia needs for its own defense is happening in real time, through investment flows and technology partnerships that Estonia's government is actively facilitating. Sten Tamkivi and Taavet Hinrikus, two of the people most responsible for Estonia's first generation of global technology companies, are now deploying capital into defense technologies with the same urgency and strategic clarity that they once brought to Skype and TransferWise. The defense technology ecosystem that is growing in Estonia in 2026 is not a reactive response to external events. It is a proactive construction of the capabilities that a small country on the Russian border has concluded are necessary for survival in the strategic environment of the 2020s and 2030s. And quantum technology, in its defense applications, in its communications security applications, and in its implications for the cryptographic infrastructure of Estonia's digital state, is central to that construction in ways that no other technology is. Like and subscribe. Because the specific intersection of Estonia's digital state, its NATO membership, its proximity to Russia, and its exceptional engineering talent creates a strategic context for quantum defense technology that is unique in the world. The convergence happening in Estonia in July 2026 is not a coincidence of unrelated events. It is the visible expression of a strategic logic that has been developing across multiple institutions and investment communities simultaneously. When Quantum Systems chose Estonia as the location for its Eastern European expansion, over Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania, all of which are also on NATO's eastern flank, it was making a specific assessment about where the best engineering talent, the best intelligence software capabilities, and the best institutional support for defense technology development could be found at scale. The acquisition of Census Q reflects a specific judgment that the intelligence software capabilities built in Estonia by engineers who grew up in a digital society under Russian security threat, who built software for the most demanding defense and security customers in the region, represent capabilities worth acquiring and integrating into a global defense technology platform. The EuroQCI participation reflects a specific judgment by Estonia's government that its long-term security depends on quantum-secured communications, and that the earlier it participates in building the infrastructure, the more influence it has over how the infrastructure is designed and deployed. Cybernetica's PQC contracts reflect a specific judgment that the 25 years of experience building Estonia's digital state creates an irreplaceable knowledge base for quantum proofing it, and that the transition cannot be outsourced to vendors who do not understand the architectural interdependencies of X-Road, EID, and the Internet voting system at the level that Cybernetica does. The Kvant.E. Technology will define the security of digital states in the 2030s and beyond, and a country that waits until that future arrives to begin preparing will not survive it in the same form it exists today. Estonia's leaders, in government, in industry, in the investment community, have internalized this understanding in a way that reflects their country's unique historical experience. A country that was occupied by one superpower for 50 years, and that sits on the border of the same superpower's successor. State does not have the luxury of strategic complacency. It prepares ahead of the threat curve or it does not survive. That operational urgency applied to quantum technology in 2026 is what makes Estonia the newest and most interesting quantum defense battleground in the world. The implications of what Estonia is building extend well beyond Estonia's own security. The country's approach to quantum defense technology, combining autonomous surveillance systems with AI-based intelligence analysis, quantum-secured communications infrastructure, post-quantum cryptographic transition of its entire digital government, and active participation in the pan-European quantum communication network, is a model that every small NATO member state on Russia's border is watching. Latvia and Lithuania, the other two Baltic states, each with their own histories of Soviet occupation and their own land borders with are more valuable to the entire NATO alliance than any amount of theoretical defense environments where the threat is abstract rather than immediate. Quantum Systems Chief Revenue Officer Martin Karkur said it directly when announcing the Tallinn expansion. Estonia has built an exceptional reputation for engineering excellence, software innovation, and defense technology. The Tallinn office adds a European capability centered to Quantum Systems' growing organization and reinforces its long-term commitment to NATO's eastern flank. That language, long-term commitment to NATO's eastern flank, is the language of a company that has made a strategic judgment about where the most important defense technology development in Europe is going to happen for the next decade. And the $8 billion valuation that Blackstone, Notice, Airbus, and Advent placed on Quantum Systems in the same week tells you how much capital is aligned behind that. Isolation from each other. The first trend is the acceleration of quantum defense technology deployment. The Pentagon's Farseer program, launched in late June 2026, committed up to $200 million in the next 12 months to quantum sensing technologies for military applications, magnetometers for submarine detection, gravimeters for underground facility mapping, atomic clocks for GPS-denied navigation. The executive orders signed on June 22, 2026, established a national program to deliver a fault-tolerant quantum computer to a Department of Energy facility by 2028, and mandated post-quantum cryptographic migration across all federal systems and federal contractors by 2030. Google's Willow chip demonstrated verifiable quantum advantage for the first time in October 2025. Microsoft's Majorana 2 chip accelerated its fault-tolerant quantum computer timeline to 2029. Amazon's Quora partnership targets a commercially available fault-tolerant quantum system on Amazon Bracket by 2028. The quantum revolution is not a future event. It is a present deployment race. The second trend is the recognition by NATO's eastern flank members that the defense of their digital infrastructure is inseparable from the defense of their physical territory, and that quantum technology sits at the intersection of both. Estonia's internet voting system, its EID, its X-Road data exchange, its military communications infrastructure, all of these are defense assets in the same sense that tanks and fighter jets are defense assets. Because a country whose digital governance can be cryptographically compromised or disrupted is a country whose democratic institutions can be attacked without a single soldier crossing the border. Russia's operations against Estonia's digital infrastructure, including the 2007 cyber attack that temporarily disrupted Estonian government, banking, and media websites, demonstrated this long before most of the world was paying attention. Estonia paid attention then and has been paying attention ever since. The quantum convergence happening in Tallinn in July 2026, Quantum Systems opening its Eastern European headquarters, Cybernetica developing the national PQC roadmap, EuroQCI connecting Estonia to the Pan-European Quantum Communication Network, Kivant.de building the quantum talent and research ecosystem, and the €100 million defense tech fund attracting global capital, is the most concrete expression of what it looks like when a small country with a big digital footprint and a dangerous neighbor decides that quantum technology is a national security priority that cannot wait for larger countries to lead. Estonia is not waiting. And the quantum defense technology ecosystem it is building in 2026 will be studied, replicated, and learned from by every NATO member and every digitally advanced democracy that is paying attention. If this video gave you a complete picture of why Estonia became the newest quantum defense battleground, from the unique vulnerability of its digital state, to the exceptional capability of its engineering culture, to the strategic urgency created by its position on NATO's eastern flank, to the specific investments and programs that turning Tallinn into a center of quantum defense technology for the entire alliance, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel. The quantum revolution is happening everywhere simultaneously, but it is happening with a particular clarity of purpose in the country that has the most to lose and the most institutional experience to contribute at the most contested frontier in the democratic world.